'Tis the season to watch virtual dance and music shows from your sofa. During the Christmas period, there are many to choose from. In December, the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theatre began their groundbreaking new season completely online. The virtual season is called Ailey Forward, with new pieces created, choreographed, and performed during the pandemic with COVID and social distancing in mind. One of the people behind this giant leap for the company is Associate Artistic Director Matthew Rushing. Hello, Matthew.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Now, every December, the dancers of Alvin Ailey American Dance Theatre fill the city centre stage in New York night after night, with something like 70,000 people enjoying the shows. It's very different this year. How are you doing this December?
I'm well. Just like you said, it's very different. One of the main things we're all trying to embrace is being able to adapt to this new time. We definitely miss being on stage. We definitely miss feeling the energy of the audiences. But we're learning to adapt. We're becoming stronger. We're learning new skills. We've ventured into a realm that rarely have we actually never have we put together a virtual season. So it's lots of lessons being learned. Our reach as far as how many people we're touching has actually expanded because of the pandemic and because of us going virtual. So there are some blessings within all of the chaos.
And you became the Associate Artistic Director in January. Not long afterwards, in spring, the company was forced to suspend all of its live performances during the first surge of COVID cases in New York. But rather than stop dancing, you guys launched Alvin Ailey All Access. Tell us about that time. What was it like for you?
Well, actually, one of the first videos that went viral, actually, it was an idea from one of the dancers, Miranda. And basically, it just came from the feeling of she just could not stay away from her art form. We once we became, we start doing this whole sheltering in. uh she immediately wanted to reach out to the other dancers and say, what can we do, not only to express or to continually express ourselves, but what can we do to reach our audiences? And that was the beginning of a lot of incredibly special content that was put together, and eventually we formed a platform, Ailey All Access, wanting to connect with the audiences. And from then it just kind of expanded to where we are now in our first virtual season.
And every art form has its challenges. Many of the company's dances in the past involve touch, closeness. How did you reimagine performances for this time of social distancing?
Well, we had to become extremely creative. And that's another great thing about this. Like, it really made us dig deep, and you had to question what reach or grasp does the art form have when we, one, cannot be in the same place, and two, bodies can't touch. Well, we found that dance still has a connection and a grasp and a reach to the audiences. We learned that we had to go more personal. We had, even in Ailey All Access, we came up with a special series called Dancers Diaries. And we literally had the dancers talking about how they felt during this time in the pandemic. Certain things were encouraging, certain things were, in a sense, mourning. I mean, they were expressing the sorrow, the confusion, the pain. And within all of this sharing and being transparent, there was more connection. So I think one of the things, one of the ways we kind of tapped into more creativity was being honest. Where are we? What are we feeling? How does anybody else feel the same way we're feeling? So it's just this idea of being honest.
And this season, the company celebrates 60 years since the creation of Ailey's signature work, Revelations, from 1960, at the height of the civil rights movement. It pays tribute to African American heritage. Revelations has been performed all over the world, but in times of COVID, again, you had to rethink it to mark 6 decades. Tell us what you did.
Well, actually, in order to move forward, we took a look back. We went to the first recording of Revelations called Lamp Unto My Feet. It was a 1962 recording, and it was specially staged for the broadcast. So believe it or not, there were a lot of ideas that we kind of borrowed from the staging of the original broadcast of Revelations, and we kind of brought it to the present day. We tried to film it on specific locations that gave it more context to the intent and the spirit of each section. And then also just visually wanting to give more up close depictions and views into the work. We decided that in the reimagining, we didn't want to change too much. Revelations is a classic and it speaks volumes as is, and it doesn't need to be altered, but we thought about presenting it in different ways.
And like all great arts, it never gets old. With civil rights at the forefront of America's national conscience, its power has only grown during this time. What does the piece say about America in 2020, do you think?
It always offers hope to me. One of the things we kind of took a moment to think about, or kind of ask ourselves those questions, like, what does Revelations mean to you? What are the themes that are reoccurring? What are these themes that seem to be speaking to all people around the world? And there were two things that came up: lament and hope. And think about the time that we're in right now. Those things are extremely important. It's important to be honest where you are. It's important, if something hurts, to say, ouch, this hurts. But then there's something about that confession, there's something about the honesty of where you are that kind of takes you a step further to healing. And that's where we find hope. And that is all through Revelations. It starts off with Pilgrim of Sorrow, songs like I've Been Butte, Fix Me Jesus. And then it takes you through this cleansing and this baptismal ceremony. And then we end up in Rocking My Soul in the Bosom of Abraham. That's simply lament all the way through hope.
And Matthew, as a dancer, you performed for several presidents: George H. Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama. How are you feeling about the new administration and the first ever female VP and VP of color?
Extremely hopeful. There's that word again, hopeful. There's lots of moments of lament when you come to social and political conversations, but right now I feel extremely hopeful.
Well, the Alvin Ailey season, Ailey Forward, is among a number of shows that you can watch from your sofa during the Christmas period. Here are some of our other top picks.
Before gorging ourselves on the excesses of the festive season, let's start with some sophistication. How about the English National Ballet's new digital season? There are 5 short films available for rent online. It's an unpredictable collection from a range of exciting directors and choreographers. If you're after a more classic family spectacle, New York City Ballet has you covered. Their production of The Nutcracker is on theatre streaming sites Marquee TV throughout the month.
You don't know this Scrooge.
And if ballet's not your thing, there are plenty of musicals popping up.
So good at the top of the town.
The innovative streaming production Estella Scrooge cleverly blends its Broadway cast with green screen magic.
You're shooting and scoring, you're flying and soaring.
I need more time.
While Netflix seems to have so many films stockpiled in its festive arsenal, it's like COVID never happened. Jingle Jangle: A Christmas Journey is getting glowing reviews, while The Prom is definitely not, but looks good if you just want to drown in glitter and jazz hands. That's if the glut of films and food hasn't polished you off by then.
I'm gonna
take a stand.
Those were some of the top picks of the season that you can watch from your home virtually. Just before we go, though, Matthew, Ailey used dance as a vehicle to inspire conversation, unite people. Is there a message, do you think, or a lesson from this year, 2020, that you'll carry forward when all this is over?
Yes, you said the word forward. The name of our virtual season is Ailey Forward. And the idea is not only surviving, because we are surviving and things will get better, but the idea is how do we move forward in these times? We've just left a time of confusion, lots of questions, but now that we are getting through this time, how will we move forward? How will the company, the organization change and be different as a result of where we are now? And how will we make the best of where we are?
Matthew Rushing, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you. A reminder for you guys at home, you can watch performances from the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theatre in New York City from their new season, Ailey Forward, on their website from now until the end of the month. All the content is free, a real Christmas gift. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.
You have enjoyed your program with Air France Protect, promising you a pleasant trip with total peace of mind.